Today's lesson is giving others support and encouragement. Hi, everybody. I'm Roger.
And I'm Mike.
And today we've got a couple of conversations involving giving support to other people. Sometimes your friend may be discouraged or worried about something, and you want to give them a pep talk. You want to say some things to them that will give them encouragement and make them feel better about themselves, especially if you're facing a difficult situation, like giving a presentation in class or trying to start a new job or something. We're going to look at some conversations that mostly involve Jim and Anne.
All right, so yes, times are tough. Sometimes we go through these tough times in our lives, and having others around us who can help us sort of refocus and get new energy and determination, that can be a wonderful, wonderful gift, and also a wonderful thing to be able to do for others when they're going through a tough time too. So let's find out what ways to give others support and encouragement, because life is not always a bowl of cherries. Sometimes things get tough and we need help. Giving others support and encouragement. 1. Encouraging others. Jim is feeling nervous about his presentation for history class, so he talks to Anne about it during lunch. I'm really nervous about my history presentation tomorrow. What if I forget everything, or people think I sound stupid?
I get it. I felt the same way before my science presentation last month. But you know your topic really well. Remember how you explained it to me last week?
Yeah, but that was just you.
Still, you were really clear and confident. But hey, want to practice it with me after school? Practice really helped me.
That'd be great.
I also recommend you try deep breathing. It helped me stay calm for my presentation.
Thanks. I feel better already.
大家好，第一部分介绍名词 presentation， 它的意思是报告、演讲或是授予。例如 Leona was very nervous before her presentation to the boss. Leona 在向老板简报前非常紧张。或者 When Jessica finished her presentation, she asked if anyone had any questions. 在 Jessica 完成简报时，她询问大家是否有任何问题。再来看到动词 recommend， 表示建议或是推荐。例如 I highly recommend this book to anyone who loves adventure stories. 我强烈推荐这本书给所有喜爱冒险故事的人。或是 Can you recommend a good restaurant near the hotel? 你能推荐一间饭店附近不错的餐厅吗？另外补充这个字的名词 recommendation。recommendation, recommendation. 举例 Based on the weather report, my recommendation is to bring an umbrella in case it rains. 根据天气预报，我的建议是带把雨伞以防下雨。再一句 Based on your interest, my recommendation is to visit the art museum. 根据你的兴趣，我的建议是去参观美术馆。
Okay, so again, we're talking about giving others support. We need to support other people, give them support, and we also want to give them encouragement. We don't want to discourage them. Oh, you're going to do terrible in that history presentation.
No.
You are not smart enough. You did not do your homework. You should be held back in school or something like
fail.
that. Yeah, you wouldn't do that, of course. You want to be positive. You want to give them your support, and you want to encourage them. And here we are encouraging others in part 1, or in conversation 1. And this conversation, again, is between Jim and Anne. And here Jim is feeling nervous about his presentation for history class. So he talks to Anne about it during lunch. So, of course, when we go to school, sometimes we are assigned to give a presentation in a class. It's kind of like giving a speech. A presentation or a speech, they're kind of similar. A presentation, though, to me, probably involves more than just talking. You're going to have things to show them. You're going to have slides on the screen or something, and you're going to have to demonstrate how things are done. So, yeah, he does have to give a presentation in his history class, but he's very nervous about it, and he's talking to his friend Anne about it while they're eating lunch.
There you go. So you're sort of performing for your marks. And I mean, taking a test or writing a paper is already hard enough. But when you have to stand up and do it in public, yeah, there's a lot of chance for embarrassment there. And of course, that's what Jim's probably most nervous about. I think public speaking is one of the biggest, most common phobias that people around the world have. Standing up in front of a group of people and trying to talk and show how smart you are, that can be a scary prospect. So Jim is feeling rightfully quite nervous. He says, I'm really nervous about my history presentation tomorrow. He's not worried that he's gotten all the facts wrong. As he says, what if I forget everything or people think I sound stupid? So there you go. He's not like, I'm worried I'm going to forget the date of this famous historical occasion or something, this famous historical event. No, he's not worried about that. He's just afraid of looking stupid in front of people. One of the ways would be by forgetting everything. Hi, I'm Jim. I'm here to talk about Christopher
Columbus.
Yeah, there you go. Already I look stupid. I forgot the topic of my speech, my presentation.
Yeah, somebody would have to remind you from the audience.
That's the kind of thing that would start you off pretty bad and turn your cheeks red very, very quickly. The kind of thing Jim is most afraid of. But Anne says, I get it. She understands. You know, everyone's gone through this, and very few people are like, ooh, great, a presentation, a chance to look stupid in public. No, most people are like, oh no, a chance to look stupid in public. So Anne says, I get it. I understand. I felt the same way before my science presentation last month. She has been through that. She knows exactly what he is talking about, all that he is worried about. But, she says in her first little bit of support and encouragement, but you know your topic really well, right? You're prepared. You know this stuff. Remember how you explained it to me last week? They might have been studying or having coffee together, and he kind of talked about the presentation, what he's going to cover, what he knows, and she was sitting there going, wow, this guy sounds really prepared. This guy sounds like he's going to be fine. She's kind of saying, you don't need to be nervous. You know what you're talking about.
Yep, it's a topic involving history. Maybe it's about the Battle of Agincourt or something like that, or the American Revolution or whatever. And he knows a lot about it. So if he gives that presentation, people are going to be listening to him with great attention. Boy, you really know your subject. I really want to hear what you have to say. Although I think most people sitting in class would rather have their phones out and they'd rather be checking their messages rather than listening to a history report. But still, history reports can be kind of interesting, especially if you know your topic really well. And yes, indeed, she asks him, remember how you explained it to me last week? You already sort of gave me a presentation last week and you did it quite well. But Jim says, yeah, but that was just you. That's different. It's just me talking to you. You're my friend, and I'm not nervous around you when I give that presentation in class. It's with my classmates there, and some of them might be mean to me. They may be listening for mistakes and things like that. So, of course, I will be very nervous.
Yeah, when you do it in front of your friends or your family at home in a comfortable environment, it's easy to go through it quite well and to feel comfortable and confident, right? Because you're not afraid of looking silly in front of people who love you and care about you. That's not going to be so bad. So that was easy doing it in front of you, Anne. That's why he says, that was just you. You know, I feel fine around you. You're my friend. I'm relaxed. Still, Anne says, however, yeah, but, she's kind of saying here, you were really clear and confident. Yeah, you were giving that presentation to me, but it was a really good presentation. It doesn't really matter, she's kind of saying, who you're talking to. Just say the same words in front of those people as you did with me, and you'll be fine. But hey, she says, but still, however, want to practice it with me after school? She asks as a question. Do you want to basically do that again? Do your presentation for me after school? That way you'll feel comfortable again. If you can do it twice in front of me really well, that should give you more confidence. And as she says, practice really helped me. So she knows from her experience with her science presentation last month, she did it 2 or 3 times in front of friends and family, and she felt very comfortable on the day of the presentation. So maybe that same idea, maybe the way of doing it, that same way of practicing will help you like it helped me.
And Jim likes that suggestion. He says, that'd be great. That would be great. That would be a wonderful thing if I could practice with you after school. And Anne says, I also recommend you try deep breathing. Okay, sometimes when we're nervous, we need to slow down and take some deep breaths, and it will help us relax so that we don't feel so nervous. So that is her recommendation. So here the verb is to recommend. That just means somebody somebody is telling you what you should do based on their experience or their knowledge, okay? So she obviously has been there before. She knows about this technique. I recommend you try deep breathing. I think that's something you should do. It helped me stay calm for my presentation. So yeah, breathe deeply before your presentation and it will help you a lot. You'll probably still feel a little nervous, but at least it will help.
Yeah, I recommend or I suggest you try deep breathing. As you get nervous, without even knowing it, your breathing can get faster and quicker and more shallow. And that gets your heart beating faster, and that makes you breathe faster, and all of that creates more tension and stress in your body without you even noticing. So if you do pay attention to your breathing, slow it down, your heart will slow down, and your stress levels will go down, hopefully, too. And that can all be good if you're feeling nervous and tense. She says it helped me stay calm for my presentation, right? Find yourself a quiet place, take deep breaths for a few minutes, and you'll probably find after that you feel more relaxed. You have your stress and nerves under control. Jim says, thanks, I feel better already. So maybe he's doing the deep breathing now, but also just hearing good suggestions, good support, hearing positive things can also help you not be so worried because you realize I don't really have to worry about this because my friend who I trust, who I know cares about me, has told me that it's all fine. So I feel better.
Yep, he feels better already. He feels like he's a new man. He's ready to face the world. He's ready to give his presentation. He has lots of confidence. Okay, now everybody, we're going to move on to part 2. We're going to give sincere compliments. Okay, that just means you're complimenting somebody. You're saying nice things about them. And you're not just saying them just to say them. These are sincere compliments. You really mean what you say. Let's find out what happens here between Jim and Anne in our next conversation.
2. Giving sincere compliments. Jim sees Anne's art project on display in the hallway and decides to pay her some compliments. Hey, I just saw your art project in the hallway. It's amazing. The colors really pop, and the use of perspective is so cool, especially in the background.
Thanks. I've been trying out a new watercolor technique, and I wasn't sure how it would turn out.
Well, it turned out great. That shadowing on the buildings looked so realistic.
I'm glad you noticed. If you want, I could show you some of the basics during our free period.
Really? I'd love that.
Awesome. It'll be fun to paint together.
第二部分看到名词 compliment， 它的意思是赞美的话或是赞赏。例如 If you see Mike, make sure you pay him a compliment about his new haircut. 如果你看到 Mike, 记得称赞他的新发型。也可以说 Brenda received a compliment on her artwork from a famous artist, which made her day. Brenda 获得来自一个知名艺术家对她作品的称赞，使她非常开心。继续介绍名词 technique， 表示技法、技术或是方法。可以说 My aunt has a special technique for cutting apples. 我阿姨有一招特殊的切苹果技法。又或者说 The tennis coach worked with Andy to improve his technique. 该网球教练与 Andy 合作来改善他的技巧。另外补充这个字的相关形容词 technical, T-E-C-H-N-I-C-A-L, technical. 它是指技术的、技巧的或是专门的。找个例句 The school specializes in technical training. 这所学校专门提供技术训练。另外一句 This job doesn't require any technical skills. 这份工作不需要任何专门技能。后面看到形容词 realistic， 它的意思是写实的、逼真的。例如 Valerie's drawing was so realistic that I thought it was a photograph. Valerie 的画非常写实，以至于我以为那是一张照片。再看一个例子 The special effects in the movie made the dinosaurs look realistic. 这部电影中的特效使恐龙看起来非常逼真。最后看到形容词 awesome， 表示非常棒的或是令人惊叹的。可以说 Randy drew an awesome picture of a dirt bike. Randy 画了一张很棒的越野摩托车图片。最后一个例子 My hotel room has an awesome view of the ocean. 我饭店的房间有超棒的海景。
All right, we are back with our second dialogue on the topic of giving others support and encouragement. It was Anne giving Jim some support and encouragement on his history presentation. That was what we talked about just earlier. Now we're going to be giving some compliments. And a compliment is when you say, well done, good job, I think you're really good. You say nice things about someone, maybe just based on who they are, right? You're a really kind person. You're a really good friend or something like that. Or maybe it's something they've done. That was a really good speech. That was a really good presentation. Wow, what a great song you just wrote or something like that. What delicious food you prepared for me. Thank you so much. So you're saying nice things about something that they have done or just a quality that they have. So let's see what's happening here. Jim sees Anne's art project on display in the hallway and decides to pay her some compliments. So Anne was helping Jim earlier. Now Jim is going to be complimenting. We can use it as a verb. He's going to be complimenting Anne on some of her art projects, some of her paintings or sculptures or whatever she's done in her art class. And these are on display in the hallway. They're there on show or on display for the public to see. It's not just in the classroom or locked away in a dark room or somewhere. It's out there in public for other people to see. Jim sees it. He notices other people looking at it. He thinks it's really good, so he's going to say some nice things to Anne about her beautiful art.
Yep, Jim has a background in art as well, so he's making some useful compliments here. Again, they are sincere compliments. He says, hey, I just saw your art project in the hallway. It's amazing. So she has done some paintings, and they are displayed on the wall there, and he saw those paintings. It's all part of a project. He says the colors really pop. They really stand out. You've done a great job with your colors. And also he says the use of perspective is so cool, especially in the background. Now, if you're doing photography or painting, you need to have a sense of perspective. When things are closer to you or farther away, you need to compensate for that with lines and things like that, and size or whatever, and shading. All those things make a two-dimensional surface look like it's three-dimensional. So he says, yeah, the perspective is really cool, and you really did a good job in the background, the part of the painting that was behind the main subject.
Very interesting. Clever use of both space and color in her painting. It shows definitely a high level of artistic skill, but just noticing that, not just saying, oh, it's a really nice painting, but actually noticing some special things about it, some things that really stood out, some things that were extra impressive, is a way of showing the person that you're really taking the time to appreciate what they've done. So Anne says, thanks. Thanks for noticing those things, and also thanks for saying good things about those things. But thanks, I've been trying out a new watercolor technique, and I wasn't sure how it would turn out. I mean, you don't have to be the biggest art fan in the world to know that artists do their art in very, very unique and special ways, right? A lot of people can tell the difference between a painting by Michelangelo or a painting by Picasso, right? Because they're very different. The way that they're done, the materials that they use, the way they're presented, the colors that are there. So she's been trying out a new watercolor technique. Watercolor is one of the forms of paint that people often use. With watercolors, we're having softer colors, and you can kind of blend colors very easily together. These hard paints often dissolve very easily in water, so it allows you to kind of use lighter colors and lighter touch to your painting. And a technique is just a way of painting, okay? Some people can use the same materials, but they paint in different ways. I think Van Gogh was very famous for his very thick technique, where you see ridges in the paint. The paint was really used in large amounts and kind of slapped onto the painting, whereas watercolor might be a little bit lighter and things like that. So a new way of painting. Maybe you're using a knife more than you use a brush or something like that. People often do that with oil or acrylic paints as well. Just a way of painting that's new, and she'd never really tried it before. As she says, I wasn't sure how it would turn out. In other words, I wasn't sure if it would look good or not, but I tried to do something a little different. And Jim says, well, it turned out great. No matter what you were doing, if this is a new technique or not, the end result was fantastic.
You could also say it came out great. It just means the result was favorable. They look really great. And that shadowing on the buildings looked so realistic. So, of course, when you're painting with perspective, of course, you're going to see shadows that are formed by the light source, which could be coming from behind you or from the side or whatever. So she really captured the shadowing really well. Those are just the darker parts of the painting that are in the shadow. They're not in the direct light. And he says the buildings looked realistic, which means they really looked like buildings. They didn't look like something other than buildings. It looked like a real scene. It looks like you knew what you were doing.
It might actually almost even look like a photograph, like real life. And Anne says, I'm glad you noticed. Again, I appreciate your kind of analyzing the painting and pointing out some of the special things about it. I'm glad you noticed. Again, it's just nicer than getting, wow, what a nice painting, when you actually point out the things that you really liked about it. Instead of saying, what a great meal, you can say, oh, the soup was really good, and oh, that dessert was fantastic. So you're actually commenting on different elements of this great thing that you enjoyed. She says, if you want, I could show you some of the basics during our free period. So she's appreciating his appreciation, and she's kind of returning it and saying, well, if you liked it, I'm happy to teach it to you, you know. They can enjoy this together. She'll show him some of the basics of this watercolor technique that she used, or her shadowing technique. The basics are the simple things that you can do to start off learning how to do this. The ABCs, the elementary levels, the simple first classes, or the simple first things that you have to learn. Those are the basics. She's happy to teach him what she knows. And he says, really, I'd love that. I would love to do that opportunity. And thanks for taking the time. And Anne says, awesome, fantastic, wonderful, great. It'll be fun to paint together. So there we have two friends who are very, very good, I would say, at supporting each other through good times and bad.
Okay, we're at the end of our discussion for today. Here comes Hanny, our beloved Chinese teacher.
各位同学大家好，我是 Hanny。 我们来看今天的文法重点。在课文第一部分的对话里， Jim 对明天历史课的报告感到很紧张。他对 Anne 说， What if I forget everything or people think I sound stupid? 万一我忘记所有内容，或者是大家觉得我听起来很蠢，怎么办呢？好，那我们这边要来介绍一下 what if 的用法。 What if 和 what would happen if 意思相同，我们可以用句型 what if 主词加动词来表达要是点点点会怎么样呢？那么 what if 后面接的子句可以用直说法表达，也就是时态照正常变化。 what if 后面接的子句也可以用假设法去表达跟事实相反的情况。我们这边造两个例句。 What if it rains? 要是下雨怎么办呢？那这边是用直说法，时态就是照正常变化，我们用到 it rains。 第二个例句 What if you won the lottery? What would you do with the money? 要是你中乐透会怎么样呢？你会怎么运用那笔钱呢？那这件事没有发生嘛，子句却用到了过去式动词 won， 那这边就是用假设法来表达了。好，对话里的 Anne 她提议 Jim 放学后跟他一起练习。 Anne 说练习对他的帮助很大。接着他还说 I also recommend you try deep breathing. 我也建议你试试深呼吸。好，动词 recommend 它有建议、推荐的意思。我们来整理 recommend 的用法。第一个recommend 加名词或动名词可以表达推荐某事物，后面可以接 to somebody 表达推荐某事物给某人。例如 She recommended this book to me. 她推荐这本书给我。特别注意，虽然我们中文会说她推荐我这本书，可是英文不能说成 She recommended me this book， 这个用法不正确哦。好，第二个 recommend 加名词或动名词也可以表达建议做某事。例如 I recommend getting to the airport by taxi. 我建议你搭计程车去机场。第三个 recommend 后面可以接 that 子句，那这个 that 子句的结构是 that 主词加上 should 加原形动词，或者是 that 主词加上原形动词，去表达建议某人做某事。其中的 that 也可以省略不用，就像课文的用法。好，那我们来造个例句。He recommended that we should get to the movie theater early. 也可以说 He recommended that we get to the movie theater early. 他建议我们提早到电影院。好，补充一下，还有一些动词也适用这样的句型，像 advise, propose, suggest 表达建议 ask, request, require, demand 表达要求，还有 command, order 表达命令等等。那这些表达命令或建议等等强烈意志的动词，它们后面同样可以接 that 主词 should 加原形动词，或者是接 that 主词加原形动词。好，那么以上是今天重点整理，我们回顾今天的单字吧。
Presentation. Emmanuel's presentation explained the company's new advertising strategy in a very clear way. Recommend. Sorry to bother you, but could you recommend a good place to eat near here? Compliment. Danielle was surprised when she received an unexpected compliment from a stranger. Technique. Steve has been practicing some new techniques to improve his public speaking. Realistic. The movie offers a highly realistic view of life in the city.
Well, that brings us to the end of another edition of our program, and please make sure you join us again next time. From all of us here, I am Roger.
I am Mike.
See you next time.